afternoon, everyone. Tucker Ladd, owner of Trouts Flyfishing, back for another Raptor series. Let's see. Today we've got founder, owner Jim Klug of Yellow Dog Flyfishing Adventures joining us. I've known Jim for a number of years. We actually first met on the, I think it was at an IFTD show way back in the day, Jim. And then I joined the AFTA board and worked while you were chairman and worked a number of years with you there. And now we're partners with you and Yellow Dog, and you kind of stick to the retail side, and you guys are our number one travel partner. So thanks for coming by today.
Well, thanks for having me, Tucker. It's good to see you virtually here. It's great to catch.
Well, it's kind of sad when seeing someone virtually is sufficient at this point in time.
I'm tired of hearing about how everything's the new normal. I'm not buying it. This is temporary.
It's a good mindset to have. Well, I appreciate you joining us today. So we're here to talk about travel, the topic that a lot of people in the industry haven't really been talking about. I should actually be on my way back from Havana as we speak from a trip to Cuba I had planned with Yellow Dog at a group of 16 people. So what is kind of the state of fly fishing travel right now?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, obviously, the travel industry is a massive blow for the near future here. And like the rest of the world, destination angling is effectively closed, especially on the international scale. It's the approach. It's affected everyone on all levels, not just the traveling angler, not just the booking agents, but when you think about this infrastructure that is destination over the world, Tucker, it's guides and employees and the tens of thousands of staff members from Belize to Argentina, Bahamas to the Seychelles. All of that has come to a grinding halt right now. And so, there's a lot of people that are suffering in this industry, just like in other businesses, all through. We're all, doing our best to stay positive. We realize very much, what the restrictions are right now. I think everybody's been very respectful. But of course, like anybody who loves fishing, we're all excited to get back on the water, get back out there and travel as soon as we can. And from Yellow Dog's standpoint, we're doing our best to what's going on, not just here at home and in the States, but on an international scale, so that we can simply and effectively get people back out there and fishing as soon as they are able and as soon as it's safe to do so.
You're world class in the way that you guys operate and your pre-trip plan and everything. So it's no surprise that you guys are, doing what you can on the back end to help take care of customers. And I do understand it's been a very frustrating process because I think, we're in uncharted territory right now. We've never experienced anything like this. And it's kind of, from my understanding, from what, our conversation, it's kind of, exposed some cracks and weaknesses. So, so to speak, in the kind of, reservation process. Do you want to touch on anything in that regard?
Yeah, I will. Just the Yellow Dog alone, from the March through June, we've had over 1,000 trips that have canceled. I mean, that's a massive number of trips. And you know what? It's not the angler's fault, right? But at the same time, it's not the lodge's fault. It's fault. It's not the agent's fault. It's just what it is. Like this, obviously. There's a lot of frustration out there. We all, because we love fishing, right? And we love the places that it takes us. And we all get super fired up about our trips and our fishing travel. That gets derailed. It's a frustrating thing. And the way that we're dealing with this is it's complicated. I mean, there are so many, for instance, the Yellow Dog, we were lodges around the world. That's 29 different countries to which we send anglers. Every of those different lodges has their own comes to cancellations, rebookings, rollovers. As the booking agent, we have to defer to the lodge's terms and conditions. And as you can imagine, some are being incredibly magnanimous and easy to work with and say, no problem, we'll roll it over. Others simply can't. And it's not that they want to be difficult or don't want to give someone a full credit. They're just not capable of doing it. People need to remember, a lot of these lodges are independently owned operations, right? They're not Marriott. They're not, Delta Airlines. They're not going to get some huge. These are international destinations owned oftentimes by mom and pop operators. they're trying to figure out. And so sometimes we're getting full credits and 100% rollovers. Other times it's partial. And again, the lodges are issuing these terms based on what they need to do to survive. And what we're doing with our clients is the very best we can to find solutions to get people rebooked. One thing we're not seeing, Tucker, we're not seeing lodges offer full refunds. It can't happen in this industry. What happens is money comes for a trip. That spot, make sure you're locked in to the ideal trip that you're reserving. Well, what happens at that point is those lodges oftentimes spend that money for the coming season to upgrade equipment, new boats and motors, to buy fuel, to buy food, and of course to pay their staff and to train their staff. So the situation that a lot of these guys are in is they can't issue refunds. And it's something we just all have to understand. At this point in time, we're rolling trips over. We're offering credits that vary from 100% down to less than that, again, depending on what the lodge needs in order to survive. And the one thing that we're really telling people, Tucker, and this is so important, this is fishing, all right? We do it because we love it. It's not a essential service for the world, but it's something, and it's very important to us as anglers. But throughout this process, we really need to remember to be patient, to be kind, to be understanding, and do what we can do to ensure that this infrastructure, the lodges, guides, outfitters, retailers, agents, we want this infrastructure to be there when all of this is said and done. Because we do know a couple of things. One, this will end. And there will be a time when we can all get back on airplanes and back on the wall. And when we do that, we want those lodges and those guides and outfitters to still be there. We want them in business, and we need them in business. But what we're telling people is, look, do everything we possibly can for you. We're your advocate. We're here to search for and deliver solutions. But at the same time, people need to see the big picture of this, understand that this is an unprecedented situation. Be kind, be patient, be understanding, and see the big picture.
Well said, Joe. I think the be kind and be patient, I think we're a long time now, and we're all getting a little fried and a little crispy on the whole situation. Just like a guide in August and in the Rockies. But it's just, I think, we're appreciating that we're all being negatively impacted by this. And one of the real impacted by this, and not a lot of people are talking about, is the guides. So it's not just the lodge owners. Then it trickles down to the guide trips coming back in, and I know we're doing whatever we can to get trips on the books in the future, so that these lodges, or at least for us, so that my guides know that they have some income coming in. Are you guys doing it? Help people kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe try to get them, knowing that they may be able to get out there again.
Yeah, and again, because we know that eventually that will happen, right? We are not a civilization that's going to stay home for the next 2 years. It's just not going to happen. This will happen. And we will figure out solutions and how to get back out there and re-engage with travel and fishing and all the things that we love to do, right? So we know that's going to come. One of the things that we're rolling out, Tucker, is a new promotion that we've been working on for the past couple of weeks. It's called the Back on the Water promotion. And we realize that with everything that's happened, all the uncertainties, that right now people are gun shy about booking. We get it. Trust me, we have seen it all, dealt with it all. And so what we've done is we've gone out to our 240. We've put out this promotional proposal to say, hey, let's get for the future, for later in 2020 and into 2021, reservations on the books at the lodges they want to visit with the fishing with, at the dates that work best for them. Let's get those reservations. Promotion is that we basically changed the terms, short term, to say we're going to lessen the amount of the deposits. Instead of 50, reserve your spots and your prime dates, we're dropping it to 25. Instead of 4 out, we've lessened it to 60 days out. But here's the big thing. Reason you can't go on that trip for COVID-related. This thing is still raging, all right? When your trip date comes down, if the borders are shut, if people are quarantined, and you simply can't go on this trip through, Yellow Dog will have held your money until 30 days out from the front of the trip, will refund 100% of it. So you have that peace of mind, those prime reservations, and know that you're not going to be out all of your money or even a portion of your money. You get 100% refund up until 30 days. In this case, part of the promotion is you then can have 100% credit for rebooking a future date. So we're trying to find solutions. We're trying to how to protect our customers and our clients and their trip investment. And as you said a moment ago, Tucker, we're trying to figure out a way to guide an outfitter and lodge community and that infrastructure that we all care about. Some regulations coming in. We know we want to fix it. We know there will be a time when we can do it again. We also know that when things do open, that there is going to be floodgates released. Availability and date, the best guides, the best lodges are going to be overwhelmed. It's going to be very different dates, and that's why we're encouraging people to do it now through this new back on the water promotion.
Well, I think you're talking about kind of the deposit system, and I think what in this case, so everyone, you never held any money. You had all the money. So you were kind of the. Whereas now you guys you're so it sounds to me like you're going to hold the money so that the refunds will be more seamless and guaranteed.
That's right. The lodges that are in this promotion with us, that have signed up for it, have said, look, Yellow Dog can hold the money. If people can't go for COVID-related specific reasons, the money's not out of the country. It's still here at Yellow Dog, and we'll give it all back up to 30 days from the start of the trip. Inside of 30 days, we'll give % credit for a future trip rollover. So we understand where people's apprehension is right now. This promotion that we're coming out with, called the Back on the Water promotion, to address that and let people feel comfortable about making future reservations so they can still get those prime dates, the great guests, the weeks at the lodges they want.
It kind of sounds like you guys are reinventing the way this is all.
Well, that's not up to us. I mean, the lodges, and we're not looking to tell the lodges how they have to do business. But what we are doing is we're listening to our customers who are telling us what it's going to take to get off the sidelines and get back in the game when it comes to planning and dreaming their future trips. So we want to acknowledge that. This is a short-term promotion applicable for now through the end of 2020. So whether we're looking to change the lodges terms or that we're going to tell the lodges what they have to do, that's up to them. Our job is to support our anglers and our customers. So we're trying to find solutions to get people back in the game, to get people thinking about travel and booking again when it's safe to do so. And travel addiction that we all have.
So it looks like we got a question from Yvonne here, or Yvonne from someone.
Yeah, this is Dr. Fred is asking about final payment deadlines, and I think Jay Grubbs is also asking that question about not just future bookings but the current bookings.
So for the current bookings, anything that's been on the books with a lodge prior to this, or promotion prior to May 7th, those will be the standard. And again, that varies between 60 and 90 days. 90 days is pretty typical. With this new promotion for May 7th through the end of 2020, we're going to be looking at final payment due 60 with Yellow Dog holding all of the house, so it can be refunded up until 30 days. So hopefully that answers Dr. Fred's question. Great. Good. It's and again, we've had a lot of contact with our clients and with hardcore travelers, ask what it's going to take to get the creative juices flowing, to start planning again, and to kind of get them back in the game. It's really important. The other thing is, we've had a lot of conversation with lodges about, hey, just enacting the terms that have traditionally always been there. So how do we collectively get creative to offer some incentives and planning those future trips without having to lose funds in doing so?
Well, I think it's really cool you guys are doing. I think that scene is, you've seen people react in this situation, and you got to, make lemonade out of the lemons basis. And I think what's cool is, in my mind, is you guys are doing exactly what you've always done, which is provide extreme value to all of your customers, which is better to book with an agent like Yellow Dog than it is to go directly to the lodge, because you're going to get added service, added protections. So, you guys have been, I've always always been reinventing the way that we look at destination travel and the way we do it. And you've been just in that regard. How did you get into Yellow Dog? Let's just give people a little version of how Jim Klug went and got into this business.
Well, it's a, I mean, like you and I kind of grew up working in fly fishing. From the time I was a kid, I started working it up when I was about 14. Went on to become an apprentice guide, spent a lot of college and after college, and then became a sales rep. So I've always worked in the fly fishing industry, and honestly, it's always been an industry that's been very good to me. It's a sport and a business and an industry that I love. It's what I've known my whole life. Younger, I was able to start, kind of the salt water addiction and travel to places like the Bahamas and Belize, and that turned into bringing buddies down and then roll up and say, hey, I understand you spent a lot of time in Belize. Can you tell her where to go or when I should be there? And it really kind of really set out to start a booking company. Oh, it's way too crowded, too many people trying to do it, too many hobbyists. It just kind of took on wheels of its own. And 20 years ago, this year, I jumped in with both feet, started Yellow Dog. At that time, I was an army of one, or the actual Yellow Dog that was with me. And that was those first couple of years, all we did was book saltwater and specifically Belize. And there, over the last 20 years, we've grown into a company that about 6 weeks ago had 28 employees. We've had to tighten things up a little bit, like right now, dealing with this situation. But that will be back, and we feel super, not just about what we've been able to build up over the years, but the fact that we get to work with so many amazing clients. And you bring up a good point, Tucker, about working through an agent. We always tell people this: it doesn't cost you a dime more to use it, but the last couple months has really brought about is, first of all, it's impacted everybody. Everyone's and had to be rearranged. Tried to do the route. My question is, how does that work out for you? Sometimes okay, but this is where having an agent in your corner, looking out for your interest, really is a valuable thing. That doesn't mean that we can solve every problem or we can, cover every. It means that you've got an advocate who's looking out for your interests, somebody who cares about your trip, and whether we can figure it out immediately or whether it takes some time, that you've got someone working on your behalf and looking out for your interests.
Very good point. Think about another question.
Jay's asking if the Bolivian destinations will be participating in that promo.
I don't know. That's a really good question. We're having some conversations with those guys. They're having a little bit of a hectic week right now because it's just been announced that the season for Bolivia, the entire season, has been canceled. And this officially was announced last night. We're in the process, as of all of their other booking agents, of getting that word out to people that have affected trips. it's a tough situation. But that's a little bit because it's not just about the airlines flying or the borders being closed. These Bolivian operations are in the epicenter of these indigenous, super remote communities. In this case, with the Samani tribes down there. I mean, the last thing you can have is international anglers coming in with even a chance of bringing a virus into those remote jungle communities. It's devastating to the Somali people. So it's not just about the inconvenience of being able to get there or change flight schedules or even, different level of travel warnings. This gets cataclysmic for the indigenous populations down there. So Untamed Angling is canceled their upcoming season for Bolivia and also for their Brazil operations. And honestly, it's the right thing to do. And I got to believe that every angler understands and appreciates that. Like, you can't even mess around with that and with those communities down there.
Well, I mean, I've been down to Bolivia and having flown into those two communities. I mean, I can't agree with you more. I mean, those people need. I mean, there's no. I mean, they can't handle a common cold, let alone COVID-19.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, the reality is we have to keep. It's inconvenient. This sucks because we all want to fish, and we're frustrated when our plans get changed through no fault of our own. Right? It's a frustrating thing, but we have to keep the perspective that it's still fishing, okay? And it will be there when this passes, and you will be accommodated, and things will be rolled over, and there's going to be a little pain involved in that process, but find me the moon to sharing in that pain throughout this whole situation. It's too big, it's too widespread, and we just have to realize that and keep that.
It's a good point. Another question, Yvonne?
Dr. Fred is back always with the hard-hitting questions. Right now, American is not flying to South America again until October at the earliest. Emirates is not booking anything to the Seychelles for 2021. How can one plan a trip?
Great question, Dr. Fred, and thanks for that. That actually remains to be full. The word we're getting is we will have a fall Seychelles season for the end of 2020. Right now, they are rolling out testing capabilities for everyone getting onto an airplane, on-site at the gate testing to board their planes. So, like the entire airline industry, they're scrambling to figure out not only how to safely deliver, their passengers, to deliver peace of mind so that people are comfortable with getting on an airplane. But, this is a, $100 billion. We'll figure it out. They have, and they're going to get creative. So I'm not writing off 2021 anywhere, because you're also talking about some of these destinations. Seychelles is another great example, Fred. Their entire GDP is tourism. That's it. They don't have anything else. And so you can bet that country is trying to figure out how to open up, how to bring tourists and visitors and anglers back into their country and do it in a responsible and safe way. But there's a lot of people working on it. We're really taking this 1 month at a time right now. But I fully expect that come fall, we're going to see some creative solutions and opportunities for people to actually travel and reach these destinations. I remain optimistic on that.
Well, you and I we were talking the other day. You mentioned that you kind of see this like to use all the official terminology, this is like a dimmer switch, not a light switch. So, as we're tell us kind of what you think, how destination travel is going to roll out. What are the destinations that people are going to be, have first access to? So if I'm thinking, man, I really can't wait to go chase permit back in Belize. When do you think, and is that kind of like first destination, second, like how's that going to go, do you think?
Well, that's a great question, Tucker. And we're looking at it in phases. You're hearing a lot about these different reopening phases. We have the angling phases, all right, as far as destination travel. And first of all, let me preface it by, with this quick statement. We're not advocating for anybody to go anywhere or travel anywhere, A, unless they're comfortable, and B, unless it's safe. So I don't want a bunch of people, blowing your inbox up and my inbox up saying, oh, you guys are telling people to get out there and travel, and that's irresponsible. That's not the case at all. But the fact of the matter is we are the travel industry. So we're looking at answers, we're looking for answers, and we're looking for solutions. To your question, Tucker, which is a good one, how we're looking at it at Yellow Dog is we see a phase 1 opportunity, which includes U.S. destinations, the Rockies, the Northern Rockies, the Northwest, Montana, Idaho, Colorado. We're very much hopeful that Alaska will be included in that phase one as well. As of right now, all systems are go from really July 1st on. So we feel that's where people's comfort level is going to be greatest, and we anticipate a really good mid-summer through fall season for a lot of these phase one U.S. destinations. Phase two, we're looking at closer to home international destinations that really are one flight destinations. Belize, Bahamas, Yucatan, places where you get on a plane, say in Denver, fly directly to Belize City or directly to Cancun and be at your destination. We're optimistic that mid to late summer, a lot of these places are going to open up and you're going to have the ability to. Phase three is going to be a little bit longer term. And this might be places like, Africa, South America, New Zealand, where that's a little bit more of a wait and see approach because, again, so much depends on what those countries are doing and how the airlines can safely move people halfway around the world and get you to your destination. That's kind of phase three. But again, you have to realize out there that isn't itching to open up. 1 in 10 people on the planet today, their income and their livelihood is directly related to tourism. And when you shut all that down, you've got a lot of the world population that is hurting and unemployed and not able to feed their families. And so people are looking for solutions. Countries want to open up, but they want to balance it with doing it in a safe, responsible way. I'll tell you, the one thing that this country is good at and a lot of other countries are good at is finding solutions, innovating our way into being able to be back in the game. And again, I remain optimistic about that. It might not happen this week. It might not happen this month, but there's a lot of people that are pushing hard for this to happen and to do it in a responsible way.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You on?
So we have a couple more questions from Dr. Fred. We'll get to those after you answer this question from Adam Barber. He has a trip scheduled to Belize. Obviously, he's having to reschedule that, and he's wondering with a potential open into summer, early fall, what would be the best time for him to go to southern Belize to not catch permit?
To not catch permit?
Well, to try, but to fail.
Well, at least he's being realistic about it.
Adam, you got the right mindset for permit. I'll tell you that right now. That's perfect. No, honestly, I think the answer to that question for a lot of anglers is going to be like, the best time is going to be the moment I can do it because people are just chomping at the bit to get down there. The great thing about the Belize fisheries is they are year-round fisheries. Dynamite for both tarpon and permit down there. You also see fewer people. You're also talking about visiting a destination where the flats have been closed, untouched and unfished for the last 4 months. So typically, late summer, early fall is hurricane season in the Caribbean. So you always have to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But short of a major weather event, the fishing should be lights out to an ecosystem and a resource and fish populations that haven't seen anybody for months. So I will tell you, keep that in mind when you have and if you have the opportunity to get down there in July, August, September, because it can be absolutely incredible fishing.
We're going to get to Dr. Fred's questions now. Dr. Fred was wondering about Brazil, if that sort of is following the same path as Bolivia, and then also is global rescue flying these days?
So great questions, two different questions. The Brazil operations run by Untamed Angling, which is Pirarucu and Kinjam, they are going to be closed for this season as well. Same thing, nations. Cataclysmic scenario if the virus were to hit those areas. So we will be rolling trips over to 2021 and 2022 for all of those reservations. Global Rescue is very much operating these days. They have been busy, and it's still incredibly important coverage that people should have for medical emergencies that are oftentimes the unforeseen ones. Whether it's you break your ankle somewhere or you step on something might be toxic or something happens, you get incredibly ill and you need to get home. That's Global Rescue is the best at it. As far as COVID specific diagnosis, that's where it gets a little bit tricky because if you go somewhere, you're in that country, you're diagnosed with COVID, they can't just fly over and pick you up. It's not safe to do it. You're likely going to have to quarantine at that country and stay there until you are asymptomatic, in which case you'll travel home. So it's a good question, Fred. We've had that from a lot of people, and that is Global Rescue's policy. But I would also encourage you to go on to globalrescue.com, where they explain all this and the different contingencies, and they've laid out pretty well what the COVID-related coverage actually is moving forward.
Well, one thing I'll add there, because I know from in working with Kristen, your Cuba specialist for my Cuba trip, one of the questions I had for her was, okay, what happens if I'm on the island and the government shuts the country down? In which case, so keep this in mind, that if that happens, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, if you're in a country into lockdown, Global Rescue can't get you out of the country.
That's correct. That's correct.
So yeah, you may be on an extended vacation someplace until you can get back out.
That's right. That is the reality of things. Now, we haven't seen that happen too many places, obviously. Yeah. Typically, what's happened, it happened in Cuba, it happened in Argentina, is they say, we are shutting the country down on Tuesday, everybody out. And we had that happen. We had 20 people in Cuba when they made that announcement. We had probably Seychelles, dozen or so people in Argentina. We got people out. And, their trip was cut short and they had to come home, but they don't necessarily slam the door with no warning whatsoever. So typically you're given the heads up, you're moved out, you're back in the States. And as American citizen, we've seen this all throughout this process. They're not going to stop you from coming home. They want Americans to come home. They may ask you to quarantine in place and have, for your 14-day period, but people haven't been prevented from coming home as American citizens. Unless you're on a cruise ship, maybe. We don't do that.
Small cruise ships.
Yeah.
Do we want to do a Dr. Fred question here, Yvonne?
Dr. Fred has no more questions at this time. I'm sure he...
Oh, we're done with Dr. Fred.
Oh, Dr. Fred, give us a call. We're always available. We love talking to you, and we'll answer every question you have to the best of our ability, for sure. But, the important thing, and I think that we touched on it before, is, just remember everybody that's a part of this community, this fly fishing family and this fly fishing community. One, it's not that big, all right? And I'll tell you, I have seen the absolute best come out in people through these past few months. Acts of kindness and understanding like that you can't even imagine. I've had clients call me up and say, look, we were supposed to go to El Pescador. We can't. Obviously, we go every year. We love our guide, Cesar. I'm sending you a check for what he would have made for his tips. Please get to him for his thing. We've had lots of instances like that happen. We've had people send checks to Yellow Dog and say, please just give this to this lodge in this country, make sure they get it, because we care about those people. And the acts of kindness and thoughtfulness are just, they've floored me. We've literally seen the best of people. And it's my favorite thing about this industry. This isn't a giant, nameless, faceless industry. This is a connected community and a connected family. The flip side of that is we've had a handful of people who've been really, really unpleasant and really difficult. And I get it. You're frustrated and it's not your fault. I get it. But look at the big picture. And, to those people, I'd say if you really are going to come in hot and you're going to be angry and you're going to be unkind, maybe pick up golf. There's probably a better sport for you than fly fishing.
Well, there's a lot of crossover in customers. Let's just note that as well.
Yeah, that's right. And just remember, this is a tight knit fly fishing community of people that do it because we love what the sport gives to us in our lives. We love the places it takes us, and as important as that element is to us, at the end of the day, it's fishing, and it will be there when this passes.
Well, and I think that, I've always remarked that there's few sports in the world like fly fishing where you can go to the places that you go to go fishing. I'm an avid outdoorsman, skiing, biking, whatever. And, I've traveled places for other sports, but nothing compares to the places I've been with a fly rod in hand. And by us traveling and keeping the money in these places, we're, the reach of our, the benefit of fly fishing goes so far into so many different places. It's not skiing, which is just in, U.S. mountain towns. This benefits like back to Bolivia. Those indigenous populations of people that actually have some form of revenue and an industry now that they can, grow their population off of. So I mean, it's cool how far-reaching the benefits of fly fishing ultimately go.
Well, it's not just it's not just jungle communities. Think about Punta Allen, Mexico, right? A small fishing village on Ascension Bay with 5 lodges. It exists because of guided fly fishing. That's why it's there, and there are 200 families that live there that depend on this. I mean, you think about towns in Patagonia. You think about places in the Bahamas, some of these out islands and villages and fishing communities in Belize. I mean, all of these places have been devastated. They've been locked down, shut down. There's nothing coming in. There's no government assistance. There's no payroll protection. There's no bailouts. These people are not working. There is no income coming in. And so you're absolutely right. I mean, fly fishing supports this massive, what are usually kind of remote, off-the-grid communities that don't have a lot of other options. And so we need to keep that in mind as we, think about, the trips that may have to be rolled over and deposits that may be rolled over. We need to think about that in terms of rebooking and getting back into the game and giving these people some reservations, some hope that this is coming back when it's able to.
Question, Yvonne?
Dr. Fred has taken us up on the challenge, and he has come back with another one. What happens to trip insurance when a trip is rolled over?
Say that again. I'm sorry. We broke up there.
Dr. Fred saying, what happens to trip insurance when a trip is rolled over?
Oh, that's a great question, Fred, and thank you for bringing that up. So if you bought a trip insurance policy and the trip gets rolled over, you can roll your trip insurance policy over as well. But there's one caveat. Let's say that your trip is scheduled for May 10th. Okay, that was the start date of your trip that you can't do. You typically have 2 weeks past that May 10th date to roll and reschedule that insurance coverage over. Yes, you can do it, but don't wait. You have that 2-week window from when your trip was supposed to start to roll it over. Very important, but they'll kick it forward to future dates. No problem at all.
And Jim, so that's the back end. Is there a front end? I know a couple of my clients, they waited too long to file their trip insurance and they weren't able to get it. Is there a time frame that people need to be aware of on the front end?
Well, yeah, yes and no, and that brings up a good point. I mean, the frustrating thing for a lot of anglers, and I'm more than willing to talk about this because it's really caused a lot of upset people, is trip insurance is there as a way to cover your trip investment, knowing full well that the lodges and agents can't refund money once it's been spent for a coming season, right? So we have always, for years, all of us, the agents, the lodges, the retailers, like, buy trip insurance so that you're covered if you can't go to trip. The frustrating thing for a lot of people is bought trip insurance I never supposed to do. I did my job. Well, what we found out was so see in fine print at the bottom that are anyway related to pandemics are not covered. And so people are literally being told, well, or if you injured yourself or if you lost your passport, all of that was covered, but pandemic related reasons are not. And so that's pretty frustrating. And I get that. I absolutely get that. We're dealing with that a lot. And I would.
Nope, it's a good little bad connection. Okay, I'm going to come back here in a second. Any questions, Yvonne, that I can answer, not being the full-blown travel expert?
Dr. Fred said at age 78, can he wait for all these trips to roll over? I was like, Doc, I don't want to answer that. Dr. Fred, don't say that.
So, Jim, you're on it. So, kind of Cliff notes that I heard was trip insurance and pandemics. Pandemics don't count when it comes to trip insurance.
Yeah, which a lot of us have found out the hard way. And honestly, if someone had said 5 months ago, hey, I want to buy trip insurance. What does it cover? And if you went through the 28 things it did, and then you said, oh, but wide pandemics, like you see in the movies, people will be like, what are the odds of that happening? I'm not worried about that. If my job keeps me from going or my son gets.
All right.
Do you have me back yet, Tucker?
No, we just got you back. You cut out there for about 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. But,
We're all learning to work with technology here, Jim. Sometimes it works perfectly, and sometimes you just want to throw it through.
Well, I'll tell you this. There's still a place for trip insurance on future trips because there are a lot of things aside from pandemics that typically can lost passports, canceled flights, job conflicts. We see a lot. Someone takes a new job. They're told they can't go on a trip they've had planned for a year and a half. That's the more typical reasons, and coverage is still valuable for those reasons. So,
yeah, great investment. Just read the fine print so you know what you got to do when you got to do it. But book with someone like Yellow Dog, and then they can help walk you through all those questions and situations.
That's right, and this has been an interesting learning process for all of us. I mean, again. It's been crazy. It really has. I mean, if you would have told me 4 or 5 months ago how this the right, and look where we.
Well, our signal seems to be getting a little more finicky here, Jim. So, is there anything else you want to, before we go? Everyone watching this, as it pertains to travel. I'll remind everyone that Yellow Dog, the charge is the same amount for a lodge that the lodge is going to charge. So your services aren't an add-on to what a trip would normally cost. But we trips to Yellow Dog for a very good reason. It's because of all the wonderful customer service and expertise that you guys bring to the table. But any closing thoughts you have for people watching?
Well, first of all, let me say thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. We love everything you guys do. You're first rate all the way. I would just say, for people, first of all, call us if you want to have in-depth discussions about travel opportunities and about the new Back on the Water promotion. And I think it's going to generate some excitement and some very real options for planning future trips. But the other thing is just remember that let's keep our wits about us. Let's remember why we fish and let's be kind. Let's be understanding. Let's think ahead to better days when we'll all be back on the water and travel in the world again.
It looks like we got another question.
One final question. This is from Jay. With Untamed canceling the season, is that not different from a pandemic? Lodge owner shut down.
So that's a good question, Jay. And we have tried to work on these angles because, I mean, if you have a lodge that does not have a form of short-term financial default, right? And so we have been really exploring these options. The lodges have been more than happy to write letters to attest to the fact that, hey, they're just not opening, right? No fault to the client. And it's not like they had to cancel a trip.
So you broke up again, Jim. So I'll just kind of paraphrase, I think. So what you guys have been doing is working with the lodges so that a reason that the customer can't go is being more of a financial issue than it is a pandemic issue, which then falls under, it does qualify for trip insurance. So if a we're having financial hardship and we can't operate because of that, that's a justifiable reason, and that's what you're getting the lodges to note for their clients.
It should be a justifiable reason, Tucker. It's just we're dealing with big insurance. We're seeing it on a case by case. We have people from the same week, and one gets full coverage and approved.
Huh.
So
Gotta love insurance.
yeah.
Well, any other questions, Yvonne? All right. We appreciate everyone tuning in today. Thanks again to Jim Klug for joining us for another episode of our Sequester series. Jim, great talking to you. Glad to see you're doing well. Best to you and your family, and look forward to giving you a big bear hug here in the near future.
Thank you so much for having me, and hang in there. This will pass. We know that.
Good words to end on.